Hello, this is Jason Clement, Technical Sales Manager at Isonas, and welcome to this online training video. This video is an introduction to Isonas. In this module, we will review what Isonas is and how we are changing the industry, our patented reader controller technology, how Isonas can take over legacy systems, the Isonas software proposition, and Isonas integration to other platforms. Isonas is pure IP access control. Access control belongs on the network. All security has either transitioned to or is in the process of transitioning to the network. Access control is no different. Isonas will obsolete traditional control panels and move management to the cloud. These two goals are the core goals of Isonas. Our core components are, number one, our unique patented hardware. This allows for access control to utilize on-site network infrastructure. It is more scalable and more flexible than panel-based systems. It can typically be 30 to 40% less expensive, and it does require Isonas software or one of our OEM partner softwares. The second component is our leading security as a service and on-premise access control software. This is either Pure Access Cloud or Pure Access Manager, which is on-site. This is a full-featured access control system with a modern, intuitive user interface. The interface is device agnostic, so whether you're on your Windows device, Apple device, or Android device, it will look and feel the same. Isonas has proven technology with installation and support in over 27 countries and every vertical market. We produced the first IP reader controller back in 2006. Our Pure IP access control will become the industry standard. Because it's a network appliance, its structure opens up new uses. It is easy install on vehicles, data cabinets, medical cabinets, and other places where it's difficult for panel-based systems to operate. It is easier to install and operate. All we have to do is run an Ethernet connection out to the door with PoE, and for most cases, that's more than enough. We're more flexible than panel-based systems. With an 8-door controller, when I want to go to my 9th door, I typically have to buy another 8-door controller, power supply, and batteries, and everything that goes along with it. When I want to add a 9th door onto an Isonas system, I simply purchase one reader controller, run my Ethernet drop with PoE out to the door, and that's all that's needed. We're more stable than panel-based systems. Since our device is a network device, the intelligence is out at the door, meaning that we don't need a 100% connection back to the server all the time in order to be able to function. We're more scalable than panel-based systems. You can scale your system from one door to thousands of doors without any additional panels, power supplies, etc. All you need is your PoE switch port and your Pure Access Cloud or Pure Access Manager license. We're ultimately less expensive by the cabling and the labor and the licensing cost structure that's involved with access control. And we have proven technology. Again, we've been around since 2006 with the first IP-based reader controller. So how does the reader controller stack up against a panel-based system? Here we see a typical panel-based system. We have multiple enclosures with a lot of wiring, a lot of expensive copper cabling, and additional batteries and power supplies that we need. With our reader controller, all we need is our reader controller going back to a network switch. Local decision making at the door, so when I scan that credential, it looks through its database right there in the device, makes its decision whether to admit or reject, and then sends the event onto the server if it's connected. It can hold up to 64,000 individual credentials, 5,000 events, provides 600 milliamps of power when powered by PoE. If we need additional power, we can use a 12 or 24 volt DC power supply. We have an open API and SDK in order to integrate to our device. And we also have AES 256-bit encryption both on the device and between the device and the server. Our reader controller technology is leading in the industry. We have multiple form factors: a standard mullion, a wall mount, and a wall mount with a keypad if you want to be able to use pin codes. All of these come in two standard models: a standard prox model, which reads 125 kilohertz and Bluetooth, 125 kilohertz being standard prox cards in the industry right now, And we also have our MCT model, or our multi-tech model. This will read 125 kilohertz, 13.56 megahertz, and Bluetooth. 13.56 megahertz being a smart card range like iClass and MyFair, etc. Tamper detection is done via an accelerometer, just like any other mobile device. Once you install the device, it calibrates, and if somebody tries to pull it off the wall, once they shift it to the left or right, or front or back, the tamper detection will go off and send an alert in the software. Local decision making at the device. Again, we are not reliant on the server being up 100% of the time. Our devices are IP56 rated for outdoor use. Full encryption from the device to the server. We work with pretty much any locking hardware out there, whether it be a standard 12-volt lock or 24-volt DC electrified locking hardware. And we are made in the USA. Since we have Bluetooth on our devices, we can use pure mobile credentials. This turns access control into a hassle-free part of your day. Bluetooth Low Energy Communication allows a simple and secure connection between your mobile device and the Isonas Pure IP RC04 hardware family. Step 1, simply download the Pure Mobile application. Step 2, enroll the user in our Pure Access software. And Step 3, present the smartphone to complete enrollment and you're all set. This provides for convenient and hassle-free credentials. Reduces cost and complexity. You don't need to purchase additional HID cards or smart cards or anything like that. Quick enrollment and management. We are iOS and Android compatible. And the communication between the device and the reader is secure encrypted communication with unique session keys. So there's no worry about security that somebody will be able to hack the Bluetooth credential and be able to replicate it. The credentials are non-transferable between devices. So the reader controller and IP proposition sounds great, but a lot of people have existing access control systems. They want to be able to utilize what they've already invested and be able to move forward with Isonas devices or reader controllers in the future. We have our PowerNet IP bridge, which is the encoder for access control. In this example, we have a typical legacy-based system. We have a server that's running on site that's managing everything. Sometimes the server is connected to a main panel, which will then connect out to sub-panels out in the field. All of these field panels will have local power supplies, battery backed up, with large enclosures that are taking up a bunch of room in your network closets. So let's take a look and see how we can cost-effectively migrate to an Isonas system. We're going to take away the legacy access control server and centralized panel, and we're going to put the host out in the cloud with our Pure Access software. We're then going to replace all the panels in the network closets with our IP bridge devices. Alternatively, you can also use our R1 readers to replace the old Wiegand readers at the door to gain Bluetooth functionality and mobile credentials and a unique look and feel throughout the facility with all Isonas devices. When you're looking to expand and upgrade, your new doors can use our Pure IP RC04 devices. Taking a quick look at the IP bridge, the intelligence is at the device, local decision making with centralized programming. Again, this device is not 100% reliant on a server being up. When I read a card at the door, it sends the information to the IP bridge. The IP bridge makes a decision, and then will lock or keep the door locked depending on the situation. It comes in 2 or 3 door options. Utilize the existing wiring and readers. Alternatively, you can upgrade existing Wiegand readers to our R1 reader with Bluetooth. This will allow you to have the same look and feel for all the readers throughout the facility and be able to use pure mobile credentials throughout the facility as well. You can utilize the existing power supplies from the system, or you can use PoE or PoE Plus if you want Ethernet-based power. Up to 32 bridges can connect to a single switch port. This means if you have multiple bridges in a single network closet, you don't need to expand the number of switch ports they have. They can operate off a single switch port. Compact form factor with DIN rail mounts on the back for mounting in the enclosure. Taking a quick look at our solution topology, we have our centralized network that's running Pure Access. You can be geographically dispersed. You can have reader controllers on the East Coast, on the West Coast, up in Canada. It doesn't matter where they're at as long as they have a network connection either out to the cloud or back to your Pure Access Manager instance. On one side of the screen, we see our reader controllers out at the door. On the other side, we see our reader controllers being used for parking garages, securing data cabinets, securing medical cabinets. The options are really limitless since the reader controller just needs a little bit of power to run on and then whatever electrical lock that you want to connect to it. And on the bottom, we'll see a localized instance of the reader controller being connected to a door lock, door sense, or request to exit motion being connected to the fire alarm. Since all the wiring is right out at the door, it makes it more cost effective and easier to install overall. Taking a look at our Pure Access software, it's either in the cloud or on-premise. It is a full-featured access control platform that allows for full installation, administration, and management. You have an unlimited number of access points depending on your licensing. You can have it across an unlimited number of geographic locations. Since we have mobile configuration, it's easier for troubleshooting. Very cost-effective annual licensing. Mobile device and browser support, so whether you're on your phone at the beach or on your PC in the office, you can connect to Pure Access and make changes to the system. Special events and holidays can be configured. Custom reporting engine. An access point configuration wizard, making it easy for your technicians to install and configure the devices. Tenancy and tenant partitioning. When we get into Pure Access Cloud, we'll discuss this, but it allows for an integrator to make money in a recurring monthly revenue scenario. Active Directory integration, lockdown scenarios, real-time health monitoring and control, and electronic or phone credentials via our Bluetooth Low Energy on our RCO4s. So Pure IP and Pure Access reinvent the experience of installing access control. On our mobile device, we can pull up Pure Access. When we log in, we're going to add in an access point or a door into the system. We're going to pull up our camera on our phone or mobile device. We're going to take a picture of the MAC address. That's a sticker on the side of the reader controller or IP bridge. It's going to pull that MAC address in and associate it with that tenant for us. We're going to configure in the system what's connected to that door. Do you have a lock? Do you have a request to exit motion, a door sense, etc.? Finally, we'll configure and test that lock at the door and then finalize the configuration. So this is just an example of how IP and cloud can fundamentally change established norms. Typically, an integrator will have one person configuring the software and the other person out in the field installing it at the door, and then they have to work together to test. In this case, any technician can easily pull up Pure Access on their mobile device, enroll the door, test it, and be done, and move on to the next one. Smartphone interaction confirms 100% accuracy before the technician physically leaves the site. He tested that door, he knows the lock works, he tested a credential, and he knows that everything is functioning 100%. Electronic and phone credentials are in demand to replace traditional access cards. People will leave their cards or key fobs at home, but they will never ever leave their mobile device. Taking a look at Pure Access Cloud, it runs across multiple web servers behind a load balancer in Amazon Web Services. If a server goes down or has issues, a new web server automatically starts, creating a flawless experience to the user. Even if something happens out on the web, it's invisible to the end user as to what has actually happened. It is hosted by Amazon Web Services. A guaranteed uptime of 99.95%. What does that mean? Really what it means is there's only approximately 4.5 total hours of downtime in a year. Multiple available zones for redundancy, so if something fails in one location of the country, it will be automatically started in another location. If there's a loss of connection to Amazon Web Services, Isonas reader controllers will operate in local mode as usual. So if somebody's digging next to the school and they hit the fiber line, which knocks out internet connectivity, all those devices will continue to work until the internet connection is restored, in which case it will reconnect to Pure Access, upload its events, and take any changes made in the system. Pure Access Manager is essentially the exact same thing, a browser-based web application that is hosted on a customer's network. Uses a PostgreSQL database on a Windows server. The web application is written in Java, served up by Apache Tomcat. What does that mean to you? Essentially what it means is you have the same features and functionality of Pure Access Cloud. It looks exactly the same. There's no difference between Manager or Cloud. Except for one tiny thing. The ability to manage subtenants exists only in the cloud application, not in Pure Access Manager. Software upgrades are offered as an additional service in 1, 2, or 3-year program. Once you purchase the software, it's yours. However, if you want major updates in the software, then you'll want to purchase our software upgrade platform. Because we're an IP-based solution, we have some powerful integrations. The first of which being to video management systems, so we send our events to the video management system, whether it be Milestone or ONSSI or Video Insight. They interpret those events, and then you can link a camera to a access control point and view all the events from there. So if you see that somebody propped a door open late at night, that event will be triggered as a clickable link in your video management platform. You can click on it and view and see who actually propped that door open. The second piece of that is our software integrated to Isonas hardware. So this will not utilize our Pure Access platform, but rather another access control platform. Our leading integration there is Open Options. While we do have these great integrations into Pure Access, sometimes it's just not enough for very advanced or enterprise style end users. They like our hardware proposition, but they need some additional software functionality, and that's where Open Options come in. They can utilize our hardware and provide all of their great integrations to that end user. Isonas is pure IP-based access control, whether you're using our IP bridge, our RCO4, or our legacy RCO3 product. It's all a network-based device with local decision-making and centralized programming either out in the cloud or on site with our Pure Access Manager product. We are easier to install and operate. All we need is an Ethernet cable from the switch to the door, and typically utilizing PoE to power the device and to power the lock out at the door. Because of this, we are more flexible. We can install these reader controllers anywhere. We can install them in ambulances, in parking garages, on data cabinets, medical cabinets, any place where you want to control access to something and you can fit a reader controller in there, we can control it. We are more scalable than panel-based systems because we can scale 1 door at a time, 10 doors at a time, or 500 doors at a time, depending on your application. We're not reliant on how many ports you have open on a panel, if you need to add new panels, if you need to add additional software licensing, etc., etc. Panel-based systems are notorious for having a lot of add-ons depending on how many devices and how many people are connecting into the system. Taking all that into account, we are less expensive. We're less expensive in the labor side because it's easier to install. We're less expensive on the cabling side because we don't need expensive access control cabling. And we're less expensive on the overall total cost of ownership side because our cloud software or our manager software is extremely cost effective. And finally, our technology is proven. Our first reader controller came out in 2006, and we have just gotten better and better in the access control industry. Thank you for watching this training video, and have a fantastic day.